Okay, my understanding is the less resistance we have, the more energy, source energy, we can flow through our bodies, correct?
There are two aspects to this creating. There is the summoning of the energy, and there is the allowing of the energy. So, extreme discomfort is about summoning more energy than you are allowing to flow.
So when you're ill, you're calling for more energy, but you're not allowing it. And that's where the illness comes in. Is that correct?
Illness is about the contradiction in energies. It's about the misalignment of energies.
Okay. The reason for my question is you have said that our connection to source energy or source energy is at a cellular level. That we're thinking it's up here somewhere, and it's really at a cellular level within our being. And I was trying to get a visual on allowing that energy to come in at the most basic element of my being, which is...
Well, the cells certainly are calling energy. That's what your life force is. That's the cells asking for the energy and the source answering that. But as you, as a human focal point, get an idea, your idea summons energy in an even stronger way than the cellular energy. In other words, when you think thoughts, when you focus with your thinking mechanism, you are summoning energy even more powerfully. So you have a picture of energy being called through you. And for now, let's say the cells are calling some of it and you're calling it through your desires. In other words, you know you want to feel good. You know you want to be of value. You know you want to be a good friend. You know you want your body to feel good. You know you want the world to be a better place. In other words, there are all kinds of things that you've lived that have caused you to conclude your preferences. And those preferences are calling energy through you. So you are a powerful focal point. As we talk about the art of allowing, you could say it in other words by the path of least resistance. In other words, the path of most allowing and the path of least resistance is the same path. So you've got to find your path of least resistance. And we want you to, just for a little while, let that be your quest. In other words, don't try to find the path of greatest truth or the path that the most important people have always followed, or don't try to find the path that most people agree on. Try to find your path of least resistance. And in order to do that, you got to accept that you've been asking and source is answering, and you've just got to find a way of letting that well-being, that abundance, that clarity, that good stuff in by finding the path of least resistance. So we'll give you some examples of this, and then we'll try to get with you right to the heart of what you're talking about or what's bothering you. So, for example, let's say someone is sick, and they've been struggling with it for a while, and they're not getting any better, and they want to be better. They want to be better, but they're not better. And right now, their belief is that this thing is just going on and on and on and on and on. So we would say, you must find a path of least resistance. And so we might suggest to them, why don't you go to the physician? And since he has undoubtedly seen many things like this, let him help you to find a remedy. Now, for one, that might be a path of least resistance. But let's say this one's mother, when he was little, died in the care of a doctor. So going to a physician is certainly not going to be his path of least resistance. So someone else says, why don't you pray about it? But he prayed while his mother was dying. And so praying for him is certainly not a path of least resistance. So now he's in this place where he can't see. In other words, he doesn't want to go to the doctor because he doesn't trust the doctor. He doesn't want to pray because he doesn't trust whatever that is. And so he's in a place where he's not allowing himself a path of least resistance. Now what we would say to him is, pet your cat, go fishing, get your mind off of it. In other words, distracting yourself from the topic altogether might be the path of least resistance, unless the manifestation is so severe within the physical experience that he cannot distract himself from it. You get a sense of it? We were visiting with a woman a little while ago, and she was talking about her mother, and she was feeling such struggle about her relationship with her mother. And over the course of a rather long conversation with us, she explained that she does not believe that her mother will ever be happy. And also in the same conversation, she explained, without even recognizing that she was giving it all to us, that she believes that it is her job to make her mother happy. So here she is in this impossible place, because she believes that her mother will not be happy, and she believes that it's her job to do it. So she's in this impossible situation. And we said to her, you've got to find some path of less resistance. You've got to find a way of thinking about this in a way that lets the energy begin to move, and you know when you've found it because you begin to feel relief, or you've got to get off the subject altogether. It's not your job to create anybody else's reality. It's your job to create your own reality. And if you will choose things that feel good while you're thinking about it, you're going to have one whopping of a good reality, you see. But then you say, oh, I feel bad. My reality shouldn't be good when this one's reality isn't good. Let me see if I can focus upon their reality that isn't good and make it better. But it's not your job to focus upon somebody else's reality. And so often when you do, you find not a path of less resistance for you, but a path of greater resistance for you. So, if it's a subject that you're thinking about a lot, you've got to find a way of giving yourself some relief. And sometimes the relief is an action, sometimes the relief is a thought, sometimes the relief is distraction altogether. But if it's a subject that comes up often, what we notice is usually sooner or later you've got to take that subject and you've got to work it over until that subject can live within you in something that is not a painful place. This is the thing. So many physical friends come into this environment, and as they begin to talk about deliberate creation, they're still saying to us what humans globally have eternally done, it seems. They say, I can't feel good as long as that's like that. That's got to change before I can feel good. And that is what is at the basis of all illness, all wars, the belief that that's got to change before I can be happy, because you're asking the impossible. You're asking things that don't have anything to do with you, over which you do not have control, to change, and you're using that as your excuse not to allow your energy to flow. And finally, we'd like to inflame this within you. We'd like you to reach a sort of crescendo, a screaming step one place where you finally say once and for all, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to ask the impossible anymore. I'm going to find my path of least resistance. So here, we give you a whole palette of possibilities. There's the book of positive aspects. There's the rampage of appreciation. There's the process of meditation. There's the going into a creative visualization and doing virtual reality. In other words, there's all these tools that you could use if you really, really, really mean it when you say nothing is more important than I feel good. But when someone says to us, nothing is more important than I feel good, and look at that really bothers me, we have to say, you don't really mean that nothing is more important than you feel good. What you mean is, I think I'm going to test this to the limit. I think I'm going to see how many thoughts I can think that don't feel good to me before my world comes crashing down around me. But then what happens is you practice those until you can't easily just step away from them. No one can, you see. It's something you have to do a little bit at a time. So eventually we will love it when you come to this chair and you say to us something like, nothing is more important than that I feel good. Talk to me about things that make me feel good, and never mind the things that have been bothering me, because as we talk about the things that have been bothering you, all we do is keep them, at least for now, active in your vibration. Creation is about focus. It's like being a child or coming from a place where you have not seen the technology of this time-space reality and stumbling upon a machine gun and having no idea what it is and picking it up and mowing a few thousand people down before you figure out what's happening. You say, I wish I'd understood this. I would have been more careful. And we say, your focusing mechanism is that way. Finally, in time, you must say, I have not known the power of my thoughts, and I have not known the magnitude of my emotion. And finally I get it. I've got to feel good, I've got to feel good, I've got to feel good. And this thought doesn't feel good, so I'm going to think that one. And this thought doesn't feel good, so I'm going to think that one. And that thought doesn't feel good, so I'm going to think that one. And that thought doesn't feel good, so I'm going to think that one. And that thought doesn't feel good, so I'm going to think that one. And finally, after deliberately choosing enough of those thoughts will be so deactivated within your vibrational environment that you will find yourself going to them less and less and less.
Okay, here's a fun question. I mean, I really want to understand more about who I really am. And the question is, why is joy joyous?
Because joy is the label that we give to the state of being connected to who you are. And when you are connected to who you are, it feels good, and we don't care what you call it.
But there's no reason why it feels, why? I'm trying to get, this is my engineering side coming out, but again,
it's a good question.
It goes back to well-being and law of attraction and co-creation. Obviously, it's a big part of life. And why does it feel good?
We think we can answer your question more easily by taking the other side of it. Why does negative emotion feel bad? What is negative emotion? Negative emotion is the detachment or the disallowing of connection. So then you say, well, why does connection feel good? And we say, for the same reason the disconnection feels bad. And you say, but what is the joy of connection? And we say, it's like saying, why do I feel more alive when I'm connected to my source? Why does good feel good? Because it's connection to that which is good. Why does bad feel bad? Because it's disconnection from that which is good.
Okay. I'm going to have to listen to that on the tape to take that in.
Well, we think that it is a really important question,
and
yet
too.
One that is almost ludicrous when you're looking at it. In other words,
it's not ludicrous to me.
Well, we are not making fun of in any way, but from broader view, we keep wanting to say, what's hard to understand about good feeling good?
Just make it a non-issue?
Good feels good. In other words, that's like saying, why is up, up, and down, down?
Well, I'm trying to tap into more of
our
inner...
would there be up if there wasn't down? And you say, would there be the feeling of good if there wasn't the feeling of bad? And we say, precisely. And what is the feeling of good? The feeling of good is the full allowance or immersion of who I really am right here and now. And then you say, well, why would there need to be any separation at all? Why can't we just feel good all the time? Why does there ever have to be the feeling of bad? And we say, there doesn't have to be, but there is this focused, leading edge experience that is you, that is tiptoeing into the greater contrast, that runs the risk, you might say, of stepping into a place that does not allow the fullness of the energy. So this question is a very important question, because what you're actually saying is it possible for me to be on the leading edge and be so sensitive to my guidance that I never step far from what feels good? And we say, that's what we're all about. In other words, that's what we hope for you. But in the same time, we are not wanting you to ever feel bad about feeling bad. Because we know that feeling bad is always a temporary state of being, because good is ultimately all that is. We love it when you croak. You're so sure that there is this big, big, horrible mess, and you get to the end of all of this resistance, and then you croak and you reemerge into this fresh, pure, life-giving space.
Okay.
And then you say, why did I ever let it feel bad? And we say, we've been telling you.
Okay.
We've been wondering the same thing.
Okay, well, I'll let you close. I want to tell you, I really appreciated this moment. I didn't know if I'd get to you today or not.
Oh, we've been waiting for you.
Well, you left me here, I'll tell you.
We have enjoyed this interaction immensely. It is delicious to come together with those like you who are coming more and more in every day to understand who you are. Be easy about this. Be playful about this. Relax. Rejoice. Appreciate. Bask. Look for positive aspects. And most of all, be playful. In your playful, youthful, adventurous seeking of something fun to do, you line up with the energy that is really you. Because that's how you felt when you made the decision to come forth. Not one of you said, look at that mess, I'll go help clean it up. Not one of you said, here I come to save the day. Not one of you said, I'm going to go have hardship in order to prove worthiness. In every case you said, ooh, this looks like a really good environment to inspire desire. And knowing what I know about Source, this should be really, really fun. And we say, indeed it should be.